Alright, what's going on, boys? It's the Lone Courier here. So I want to have a wee discussion with you boys today about a World at War remaster, because there's been so many remasters coming out recently. There's Tony Hawk games that are getting remastered. There's been Modern Warfare 2 campaign remastered recently, which just want to talk about that for like 30 seconds at the start, right? But how ridiculous is that, getting a campaign only remaster of a game that was by far one of the most successful Call of Duty games of all time? Like, don't know what Activision are really playing it with that one. I mean, maybe it's just because they want Modern Warfare 2019 to be their cash cow, and they're scared of taking more players off of that game to play Modern Warfare 2, because if that was the case, right, Modern Warfare 2 remastered multiplayer drops tomorrow. If they do that, I think there would be an immediate drop in like at least 50% in the Modern Warfare 2019 player base, or at least all the players that own campaign remaster, because I haven't bought it, because I don't feel the need to pay £20 to go back and play a high textured remaster of a campaign that I played almost 10 years ago. Like, it's good. Modern Warfare 2 is one of the best campaigns of all time, or in terms of the Call of Duty franchise, not all time, just Call of Duty franchise, because it's good, but it's not good by other campaign standards. Anyway, Modern Warfare 2's campaign is just way too short to actually warrant me paying £20 for it, because in this time, I'm actually quite fucking cash strapped. I've not exactly got the most cash influx at the moment, so I refuse to pay £20 for a game that I still have sitting in front of me right now, which I can still play on Xbox One, which still looks as good as it ever did to me. Of course, the remastered version of it looks incredible. There's things that have changed around in the game and it looks really good. I'm not slapping you if you bought the game. If you bought the game, fair enough. I'm glad that you found the game and that you enjoy it, but at the same time, for me, I'm not going to pay for it because I still have Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox 360, which I can play on my Xbox One now, so I just don't see the point in buying it again. It's just my personal opinion. If you want to buy it, fair enough, do it, go ahead. But I'm not going to buy this game until I find out that there is a multiplayer section of it, because right now you're paying £20 for a portion of a game, which is just pointless. Could have at least included Spec Ops, which would have made it a wee bit more, would have incentivized me a wee bit more to buy it, but at the same time still wouldn't have bought it. So yeah, waiting for the multiplayer, then I might buy it, but until then I don't see it happening. So yeah, Modern Warfare 2 campaign, there's obviously that follows on from Modern Warfare 1 getting a remastered, so it seems at this point that we are going to get the entire trilogy of Modern Warfare games remastered, and that calls into question the fact of whether we're going to see a World at War remaster, a Black Ops 1 remaster. Because you go into any Treyarch comment section on Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. You go into any comment section on a Twitter post, on a Treyarch post, and it is always, when are we going to see a Black Ops 1 or a Black Ops 2 remaster? Everybody asks for those two games. Not many people ask for a World at War remaster, and I feel like it's a bit silly to expect a Black Ops 2 remaster before they've even remastered Black Ops 1. And even then I feel like it's silly to expect a BO1 remaster before they've even retouched World at War, because technically, if you're going to go that way, World at War is the first game in the Black Ops franchise. There was a Black Ops timeline that Treyarch released a couple of years ago, and the events of World at War are the starting point of the whole series. Like, it starts in World at War, and then it continues on into Black Ops 1, and then through the rest of the series from there. World at War is really one of the best Call of Duty games that I've ever played. Like, I'll still go back to this day and play that game, and I'll play it for hours on end and not feel bored at all. Like, I played it the other day, right? Which, for only having 500 players on that game, it is pretty fucking easy to find players on it. I need to say that right now. And it's, oh man, it's great. The hackers have all pretty much left that game. There is no campers in that game either, which is amazing. But other hackers seem to have gone to other games. I think they've all maybe ran off to Black Ops 2, which at this point, don't even try and play Black Ops 2, by the way. That game is infested with hackers, especially on Xbox One. It is so bad, dude. But Black Ops 2 is really bad for it. World at War used to be bad for it at 1.2, but at this point, not many hackers are actually on that game now, so anytime you play it, chances are you're going to get into a good lobby where you can actually play it properly, which is the way you want to play the game, right? There is a bit of an issue finding games where the lobby actually fills up to its full player count, because the one bad thing about World at War is the matchmaking system that they've got in that game, which doesn't filter out the DLC based on who has it and who doesn't, which is something that's pretty standard in new Call of Duty games. If you've got a DLC pack installed on your Xbox, the game will automatically search for matches including those DLC map packs, but World at War didn't really care if you had the DLC or not. They'd still throw the DLC maps into the overall map rotation, so even if you don't have the DLC, it'll still find you a game on a DLC map, and then suddenly you get booted out of the lobby because you don't have that DLC map pack. Luckily at this point, most of the people that play the game do have the DLC, Although you can find out that there is a lot of people that don't have it, because at this point you go back and play it, right? It's the case of, is it pointless to buy DLC for a game that is 12 years old at this point, which 500 people play? So it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to find lobbies forever. You might only be able to find lobbies for the next couple months, and then as soon as this lockdown ends, it's going to die again. Because you need to remember that there is a big renaissance in gaming going on right now, and that's mainly just due to the fact that there's a lockdown, so everybody's staying at home. So that's why there's 500 players on this game right now. I remember days when it was 10,000, 20,000, that's when I used to play. A couple of years ago actually, not even 12 years ago, there was still 20,000 players on this game. It was still easily enough to find lobbies on it, but nowadays, it's not so much the case. And it's a wee bit disappointing that that is the case, because there's some game modes on this game that are really fun that you really just can't experience nowadays unless you've got a full lobby worth of players and you go into private games to get a game going, or you go into multiplayer and you search all at the same time. War is one of my personal favourite modes in this game, which is pretty much dead now, which is a big fucking travesty. It is one of the best game modes in this game overall. I can only really find footage on TDM, or find games on TDM, which is a wee bit disappointing. Would have liked to show you guys some War gameplay, but sadly can't really find matches in it. If I can find a match in War, I will include that gameplay in this video, but so far I've only really got a TDM on Outskirts, which is disappointing, but overall it's good. I like that map, so I don't mind watching gameplay on this. Depends if you guys do, I don't know. But anyway, I really just did enjoy World at War. I feel like it is one of the best Call of Duty games that I've ever made so far. There's just so many things that make the game just right, you know. It's one of those games where it is just right for me. The simplicity of the game is one of my favourite things about it. The weapons in the game, they're honestly some of the best tuned weapons in the entire game series. I know a lot of people are just going to turn around and go, are you fucking serious, dude? The MP40. I know everybody seems to have this impression that the MP40 is the god gun in the game, and it is the god gun in the game, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the M16 in Modern Warfare, where the M16 dominates everything. Of course in close quarters the MP40 will dominate you, but YouTubers, especially the big ones like Ali and all those guys that go back, I don't really see them doing it now, but they used to go back and play World at War, and they were like, I'm going to get a 30 player kill streak, I need to use the MP40. And then suddenly after that, everybody thinks that the MP40 is the best fucking gun in the game, and everybody just spams the MP40 and doesn't use any of the other SMGs in the game. And it's disappointing seeing that, because that's not the only viable SMG in this game. I watched a video from Fortunate recently, top YouTuber that's been going back and playing the old Call of Duty games again, and he's been getting fucking high level gameplays on every single one of them. I wish I was as good as him. But he used the Type 100 in his gameplay recently, and that thing absolutely slaps, especially with extended mags on there. Honestly, Type 100, superb weapon. Thompson, it's got a little bit high recoil actually, which is a little bit hard to control in places, but overall the Thompson is also another really good weapon. The what is it called? The PPSH is actually pretty fucking bad in World at War multiplayer. That's about the only thing that I could say. It's a bit of a hit marker machine. It could do with a buff, but overall that's all I'd like to see in a World at War remaster. Just buff the damage values a little bit on the PPSH. Don't make it broken, but just buff it a tiny wee bit. I'm not saying nerf the MP40. I'm just saying raise the other SMG stats a little bit to make them compete more with the MP40, because that'd be a little bit more balanced and just more enjoyable, rather than breaking one gun, having it be neutered to fuck, and having every other gun still be shit. Just make every other gun a little bit better, and that one gun will be able to compete with them all, rather than that one gun outclassing them all. So yeah, would love the multiplayer. Honestly, there's nothing really that I would like to see changed at all with it. There's nothing that needs to be changed other than the PPSH needs a little bit of a buff. Other than that, there is one thing I would like to see, and that is in terms of the Modern Warfare Remastered multiplayer, what they started doing with that game. No, not adding in supply drops, but adding in new weapons to the game. I feel like that's something that I would like to see from that game overall. I would like to see a little bit more weapon variety in World at War. There is new weapons that they could add into the game. There's the Lewis gun from World War II. There was a couple of weapons from World War II that weren't in World at War that they could add into the game. There's the Lewis, there's the Sten. There's a couple other weapons that they could go ahead and add into the game. I'm not saying that I want to see the fucking Volk Sturmgewehr turn up in World at War, because then that would just outclass everything in the AR category. But I would like to see some more weapons that add in a wee bit more variety to the game. Don't break them, because I feel like they've done a good job with Modern Warfare Remastered's new weapons, because those weapons added in variety to the multiplayer. Obviously, if you've played that game for as long as I have, COD 4 or World at War, it doesn't really matter. You play those games for as long as I have, and you start to get just a tiny wee bit bored of using the same gun basically all the time. And I'm not saying that you use the same gun all the time, but when you've played it for that long, you've used almost every gun in the game at this point. So it doesn't matter what you use, you're never really getting a new weapon to use. Until these new weapons came out in Modern Warfare Remastered, and everybody shat the bed with them and spat the dummy big time and were really annoyed about it, but at the same time, it adds more variety into the game, it keeps it fresh, it gives you something else to actually grind the game for, to unlock these new weapons. I'm not saying to add in supply drops and you need to unlock them through that, because that would piss me off as well, right? That would piss me off more than anybody else. But I would like to see the infinite warfare system of unlocking challenges to get the weapons, or completing challenges to unlock the weapons. That would be so much better, so much more fair, rather than having to fork out money for supply drops, or just having to open a filthy amount of supply drops to get duplicates so you can craft these new weapons. That was pretty annoying because you had to open so many, and if you're someone like me that didn't play too much of it, Modern Warfare Remastered, then you didn't have too many supply drops, which means that you weren't getting many duplicate items, which means that it was a longer, grindier process to actually unlock these new weapons. Overall, I just want to see some more variety in the game, and I feel like that's something they could really do a good job with, because they did it with Modern Warfare Remastered multiplayer. They could do that with this game. Right, so I'm just having to redo this part of the commentary, because I'm not going to lie, originally I went off on an absolute 5-minute tear about the game possibly not having swastikas in it, right? Because I feel like that's a big thing a lot of the developers are doing nowadays when they remaster their old games, or when they make a new World War II game. Developers are really touchy about this subject. They don't like showing swastikas off at all. Case being World War II multiplayer, or World War II as a whole, right? There is maybe a grand total of about 2 swastikas in that game. There's not many of them at all. It's not like World at War where there was swastikas paraded around on every single corner, or like Wolfenstein, the new Colossus, where you literally look in the trailers and there is like 100 swastikas on screen at once. That game really prides itself on just not giving a fuck, and Wolfenstein's set in an alternate fucking reality, right? And they're still able to show that shit off because the game's all about killing Nazis, right? So having a World at War remaster while not having the swastika in it because we don't want to offend people is a fucking joke. If Wolfenstein can do it under the guise of being an alternate history game, then I think Treyarch can keep the swastikas in their World at War remaster. I think they need to keep them. There is no point in removing them for the sake of people that are going to get offended by it, because if you're a fucking snowflake and you can't stand the sight of a swastika, you need to have some big words with yourself. Now, I'm fully willing to actually admit right now that there is people that genuinely have a reason to be offended by the sight of a swastika. Say for example, if you had family members, you know, great-great-grandfathers or whatever, you know, really long-off relatives that were affected by the shit that the Nazis were doing in World War II, then I understand that you might not like seeing them in your games. You might be a little bit offended by them, but most of these people accept it because it's history, right? And in my opinion, I think when developers start removing swastikas for the games, or start adding in black female Nazis, World War II is the case right there, you start censoring history and you start changing things about, and it just removes the actual the reality of the game. You start feeling like you're not even playing a World War II game, you're just playing this big hodgepodge game that's been set in World War II, which doesn't really stick to the set and all that realistically, because there was no fucking black female Nazis in the game. There was no black female Nazis in World War II. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. But I'm not trying to just be offensive for the sake of it here. I'm just saying that if they're going to make a World War II game, if they're going to remaster World at War, they need to keep it faithful to how the game actually was. And in that game, there was a shitload of swastikas. So to remove it would be quite disrespectful to the original game. And in my opinion, it is also quite disrespectful to all the people that served in World War II, because then you're twisting the events that actually happened to suit your own agendas. Battlefield 5 being the absolute fucking case right there, having fucking female amputees serving on the front lines in World War II in Battlefield 5. Highly, highly disrespectful to the veterans of World War II, because there was no fucking shit like that ever going on in that time period. And it's just ridiculous when you start having a traditional time frame and you start twisting things around to suit your own fucking agendas, your own political agendas, because you don't want to upset your fucking teenage daughter because there is no women in the game, and you have to explain that there is no women in the game because there was no women serving on the front lines in World War II, unless you were in buttfuck Russia, like countries like that where they allowed women to serve, but the majority of like the UK, the US, they would never really allow women to serve on the front lines. Of course you had the French resistance fighters, but that's a different fucking kettle of fish entirely. Like, It's just ridiculous when developers start doing weird shit with their games. They start twisting things around because it's like, well, that's not what happened. So what are you guys playing it? Are you making a realistic World War II game, or are you just making a fucking fairy tale here? What are you guys doing? So yeah, I've went another 5-minute tear about having swastikas in the game, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit more controlled this time, because I went off on it last time. But honestly, in my opinion, if you're offended by the sight of a swastika, here's a tip for you. Don't fucking buy a World War II game, and don't expect it to be catered to your every whim by not having swastikas in it, because you are the demographic of players that are fucking ruining video games. You are the reason why we can't have a faithful, true to history video game nowadays, because you get too offended by what happened. And, you know, if you're gonna get offended by history, fuck you. It's what happened. Fucking deal with it, man. People wore swastikas on their arms in Nazi Germany. That's what happened. World at War didn't give a shit, so I don't think a World at War remaster should give a shit either. It's just my personal opinion. I don't want to see them fucking about with stuff like that. If the game had it in the first place, don't remove it. Don't censor it. It's just the way it should be. And if you get offended by it, go fucking play Little Big Planet, or a game that will not offend you. That's what you deserve. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Stay safe everyone, stay inside. Hope you guys have all had a good day as well, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day, boys. Peace.